And we are live with another edition of the All Gas No Break Sports Show. I am one of your co-hosts, Nicholas Pavona, joined alongside as always by my co-host, Andrew Johnson. And Johnson, going into week 6, I think we looked at week 6 as this will probably be a fine week of college football. Probably nothing crazy is going to happen. Obviously, the biggest storylines going into week 6 were the Miami-Florida State game, the Bama-Vanderbilt game, and then we had some upset watches for different games going into the week. Maybe teams like Texas A&M or Texas Tech, Virginia, Iowa State. Iowa State, they did lose. They did lose in an upset, but that wasn't even the biggest upset we had this past week in college football. 2 top 10 teams going down in really weird fashions. I don't think anyone really expected the way at least one of the teams lost, and the other team was kind of on upset alert, but I think everyone thought, all right, they probably don't lose this game. They have to eventually get something going, right? And now we're into week 7. Major shakeup in the AP poll after what just happened this past week, and a lot to break down here on the show tonight.
Yeah, and let's go into it. Hey, Nick, what week are we? We're in week 7?
We're going to week 7.
That's crazy. Hey, by week 7, you'd think Penn State would beat an FBS school, right?
Yeah.
Well, certainly they probably had to have one victory. They were playing UCLA last week. How'd that go?
The storyline into that game was, of course, Penn State after losing that heartbreaker to Oregon. They surely bounced back, right? Right?
Yeah, so tell me how it went.
Let's just say the only team in the FBS that hadn't led it all at one point during a game this season was UCLA. UCLA led the entirety of this game from start to finish. And the last time an 0-4 team or worse defeated a top 10 team was in 1985. That was UTEP against number 7 BYU. Yeah, this was just an unmitigated disaster for Penn State. They were down 27-7 at halftime to this winless UCLA team, a team that's lost to teams like New Mexico. There was another Mountain West school I know they lost to that I can't think of off the top of my head. Was it? I feel like it was another. Was it UNLV? I think it was UNLV. Yes.
Yeah.
And then they lost to Northwestern. Rebels. And then they lost to Northwestern, who has been just downright bad the last couple of seasons. So they make the change at offensive coordinator, trying to fix some things for their offense. And it looked phenomenal in this game. Every time we try to pronounce his last name, I'm not even going to bother. I'm just going to say Nico. You probably fill out the rest. But he looked like the guy we saw at Tennessee last season. 166 yards passing, 128 yards rushing, 3 rushing touchdowns, 2 passing touchdowns, 5 total in this game. And this, the Penn State, they made a valiant effort to try to come back in this one in the second half. But it was just poor management of this entirety of this game. They fall to UCLA 42-37. Unheard of. I really don't remember the last time I saw a game like this and was really shocked by the outcome. Because you're expecting, even if Penn State, won the game and maybe they won by like 2 touchdowns, you're thinking, all right, not a great look for Penn State, but they still won. This is an all-time bad look. They didn't lead the entirety of the game. They were down 20 points at halftime to a team that was 0-4. And now they're not even in the top 25. I know that's a spoiler for later on, but it's just unfathomable to think that this team that came into the season was 1 win away last year from playing in the national championship game is now had back-to-back losses. They look really, really bad right now. And there probably isn't a playoff opportunity for them right now. They'd have to win out. And even winning out, I don't think that would do it for them at this point. This is just pretty much rock bottom for this program since the you-know-what incident. It's just, this is an all-time low.
Sounds like music to my ears, Nick, because Penn State, one of the most overrated programs in the country, is getting served its just desserts right now. And to me, James Franklin is a dead man walking.
Has to go.
He will not be back at the end of the season.
No, he shouldn't be back right now.
Yeah,
I'm shocked he hasn't been fired yet.
Because it's a whole political thing. Because they're going to give him the option. Hey, James, like, thanks, but no thanks. Like, he'll have the option to, quote unquote, part ways, aka he's getting canned. And if he's smart, he'll say, okay, yeah, it's time for me to move on. And this is going to be a really interesting coaching carousel. You potentially have James Franklin. You're going to have Dabo gone. There's going to be a lot of openings
Maybe
right now.
maybe Brian Kelly too. So you can't rule that out anytime.
Yeah, I wouldn't rule. I think Brian Kelly's fine for now. I don't think he'll be
For
kicked out
now,
yet.
yeah, for now. Guys, see how the rest of the season goes out with him. But
Yeah,
yeah, time's up for him. It's over. It's over.
so the James Franklin era is going to be coming to an end here, and now you would think that James Franklin would have something at the end of his tenure here, and unless he runs the absolute table and the Big Ten has a lot of hiccups along the way, and somehow they end up in the title game, which there's probably a less than 1% chance of that happening
It's
right now.
unlikely. Just I don't see it. They
It's
have
it's definitely less than
they
1%.
yeah, like they have Ohio State and Indiana left in their schedule in terms of ranked opponents. But let's be real. They can maybe win the Indiana game. They are not going to Columbus and beating Ohio State with the way they just played this past
The
Saturday.
peak of this program was losing 27-24 versus Notre Dame in the Orange Bowl last year. That's the
That was their
absolute
chance.
pinnacle. That was their Super Bowl, and they blew it. Now,
Yeah.
to be fair, James Franklin did dig them out of the dirt because 10 years ago we would talk about them playing in the Pinstripe Bowl against I don't know BC or someone like that. So
Yeah, I think
it's
it actually
changed a
was
lot.
BC. Funny enough.
Yeah. That was when Christian Hackenberg was on the team too. So 10 years ago, you're talking about Pinstripe Bowl. You're not talking about, you're talking about Pinstripe Bowl, Outback Bowl. You're not really thinking
Yeah, like think of this
big
the
time bowl games.
aforementioned incident that happened. Bill O'Brien comes in first like 2 years, got the program back to winning record, leaves for the NFL to go to coach the Houston Texans, and then Franklin leaves Vanderbilt because remember he got Vanderbilt to a decent point, and then Vanderbilt after he left became Vanderbilt again, and then now they're playing a lot better. But Franklin got Vanderbilt to a nice little record throughout the couple years that he was there. Penn State said, listen, we needed a guy that could keep this program at the top right now after Bill O'Brien left. And Franklin did a good job the first couple of years. Of course, had an incredible Big Ten championship back in 2017 when they were riding the highs of Saquon Barkley and Trace McSorley and guys like that. And now it's just at the end of the day, like it's tough because last year you had a solid roster on paper. Yes, you lose Abdul Carter and Tyler Ward in the draft this past season, but they still were on paper a really solid team that a lot of people were expecting to make it back to the college football playoff, maybe not win the Big Ten, but at least get back there and maybe make a run this time around. And it's been a mixture of, bad coaching mistakes. Drew Aller is still making the same mistakes that we've seen before. It's not all his fault, but he definitely is a part of the reasoning why this is happening. Their offensive line has also been terrible, and not for nothing. Their defense was something that they were hyping up going into the season. Remember, they poached away the Ohio State defensive coordinator, Jim Knowles, from last season, and they gave up 42 points to a team that hadn't led all year, as I keep mentioning. And it's just unfathomable to think that this is happening right now for this program. It's really bad. Like, this is legit rock bottom. I don't know.
Rock bottom, at least in the last 10 years.
Yeah, I just don't know where you go from here. You have to fire Franklin, and you have to. I don't know who you even hire, but
do you think you can get a time machine to go back to 1982 and get Joe Pa back?
Yeah, maybe. I just weird. And not for nothing, let's go into the next game, too, because this will tie into the next team. If not for this loss, this next team would have had the worst loss of the week, in my opinion. And they're another team that going into the season, we expected so much out of this team. Texas is, I mean, there's something's got to be studied about this Texas Longhorns team. Think about this, Johnson. At the beginning of the year, who were the top two ranked teams in the country to start the season?
Oh, that would be Penn State, which is now unranked, and Texas, which
is now unranked.
What do you mean? They got the protege, Arch Manning, at quarterback.
I don't know what's
going on. The oldest
son
of Cooper, and the grandson of Archie. His uncles are Peyton and Eli. Cooper was probably going to be one of the better quarterbacks, but unfortunately, his injuries held him back, so we never got to really see
Cooper
him.
Was a wide receiver. Right? Yeah.
Well, he was going to be the best one of his brothers, right? That was the at least that was the what they were saying back in the day.
Yeah.
But, it is what it is. But anyway, let's go back to UT.
Yeah, I'm just they're another team that I'm not a fan of. Like same thing with Penn State, I'm not a fan of. But like it's kind of like just weird what's been going on because this is again another team on paper that you expect to make it to the CFP to the national championship game. I think you even had them going to did you have them going to the championship game?
I did not have him going to the championship
Who
game.
was your championship pick? I forgot.
It could have been Texas. Give me one
You had
second. My
Georgia.
Texas.
You had Georgia.
Yeah, I had Georgia. I wasn't really.
And we don't need to talk
Wasn't
about
really.
it. My pick doesn't matter.
What do you mean? What was your pick, Nick? Come on, tell me.
Nah, just I'm good. I'm good.
All
Let's just
right,
say
all right, all right.
let's just say they beat up Bill Belichick this past weekend.
Of course, of course.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Arch look. I'll say this. Arch is definitely a huge problem right now. I'm not. I would say the blame is like 60% Arch. I would say maybe 25% the offensive line. The offensive line has been abysmal this season. Like there's a reason Arch is throwing this many picks. It's because he looks injured and he doesn't have enough time in the pocket. Like you saw it in this game against Florida. He was under duress the majority of this game, and he was just making boneheaded decisions for the most part. And I get the rest of the blame is Steve Sarkisian because at some point you have to blame your head coach as well for what's happening because this is again something where like in the sense of James Franklin, how much more you know scapegoats can possibly be given to a university when it should also be on relying to your head coach because he's the one that's recruiting these guys to come to your university and come play football for this team. Last year, they almost had that incredible collapse against Arizona State, and thankfully for them, they won in overtime in that game. And then you saw what happened afterwards when the SEC championship game before that even they lost to Georgia after we saw Carson Beck get injured. And then they looked really bad against Ohio State in a game that they did lose by 2 touchdowns, but they had a chance to win that game against Ohio State. It was a game they just choked. And that's why I think a lot of people, including myself, were like, okay, this team's got to be it this year. We've been waiting and hyping up Arch Manning for how long now? It's got to be done this season. This is the Texas team that finally is going to get the moniker of Texas is back. They're going to be playing for a national championship or at least get close to a national championship appearance. And now they're in the same spot pretty much. They're 3-2 now after this loss to a Florida team that had been looking abysmal this season. They have been looking really bad. And Texas still has to play Oklahoma this upcoming week. They got to play Vanderbilt, which is not an easy case. They have to go to Mississippi State, which has been a pretty good team this year. They're going to Athens, and they still have to play Texas A&M to round out the season. It looks pretty much, I don't want to say impossible, but it's looking near impossible for this team to get back to the CFP at this point.
Yeah, and funny enough, Texas is one of the teams I didn't have in the college football playoffs this year.
Yeah, you did.
As strange as that sounds, whether it was by design or not, at this point, this is they're done. They're done, and the rumors that immediately got quashed last year that that he was going to transfer, and when I say he, I mean Arch Manning was going to transfer to Texas A&M. Hindsight's always 2020, but can you imagine Arch learning under Mike Elko right now? Because that team looks really good.
Yeah, I don't even know where you go if you're these two programs. Those were the two respective number 1 and number 2 teams going into the season, and Clemson I think was number 4, and they're all unranked right now to go into week 7.
Oh, it's what we said week 1 though. None of these rankings matter. You're not going to know anything until week 6, and now that it's week 7. We know which teams are real. We know which teams are bad.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just insane what's happened this season. Like I said, going into the week, I was thinking, okay, this will be a fun week in college. I'm not expecting anything crazy to happen. And then these 2 games happen. You're like, okay, now like everything has been turned on a swivel. Like now we have to like figure out exactly who's making this college football playoff at this point. I think realistically, there is probably 3 guaranteed teams at this point, I think. And then the rest we're still trying to figure out who it's going to be. I don't know if you agree with me. The 3 guarantees, in my opinion, are Ohio State, Miami, and Oregon. I think those are just undisputedly right now. They're going to make the CFP no matter what.
I'm not sold on Miami yet.
Still
Ohio
not.
State and Oregon, yeah, they're fine. They're gonna make
I
it. But
look at it only.
Miami loses 2 games in the ACC, they're done. That's the
I
thing.
just have a
Like
problem
Ohio
finding the
State,
2 games. That's the problem.
Ohio's. Yeah, I know, but
Yeah.
you think Texas was going to lose this weekend? Did you think Penn State
No,
was going to lose this
no, you're
weekend?
right.
So like
You're right.
anything is possible. Ohio
You're right.
State, I think can lose 2 games and still make it.
I'm looking at their schedule.
They have last year to kind of back them up, and they've looked also dominant this year. So if they drop a game or two, I think they'll be fine. Same thing with Oregon. They had that was a big win against Penn State until this past weekend. But when you take a look at the rest of Ohio State's schedule, on paper they're at Illinois, whatever. Then they're hosting Wisconsin. Then they're at Wisconsin. Then they're hosting Penn State, Purdue, UCLA, Rutgers, Michigan. So to me, if they lose the game against Michigan and they lose one of these other games, they're still in. Like if they lose this weekend against Illinois, then they win 5 in a row and they lose the game against Michigan, they're still in.
Which is essentially what happened last season. They lost the game to Oregon, then they went on a win streak, and then they lost to Michigan at the end of the year.
Yeah, so like they're fine as long as if they lose, if it's dry, or if there's crazy things that happen, they lose 4 or 5 games in a row, then it's a whole other story. But given this scenario, that's fine. Oregon, the same thing. Miami, if they lose 2 games, they're done. Right. Miami is 100% done if they lose 2 games, just because of their strength of schedule.
Yeah, I looked at it. I think the only teams I see them maybe losing to, or at least giving them a run for their money, it's probably the game against Louisville coming up in a week time, and then maybe at SMU.
Yeah,
that's probably it.
SMU is not. They're not really a great team, but like
no. But look
at
the rest
them
of
off
it.
At home.
Right. Look at the rest of it. Stanford sucks. Syracuse has been awful since Angeli got hurt. NC State's not good. And Virginia Tech, even if it's on the road at Virginia Tech is still really playing bad football. And Pitt, they're still a wild card. Maybe they could give them a fight at the end of the season, but Pitt's got a quarterback change. I don't know exactly where they're going in what direction, but I would say probably SMU and Louisville probably the only games where I'm like, okay, maybe Miami gets into a little bit of a scare, but I just don't see them losing.
I mean, yeah, Pitt's gonna have Pitt's actually they have opportunities here to at least make a case for the college football playoffs, because I know they have the 2 losses, but we live in a world where if Pittsburgh wins out, and these are notable teams that they'll play: Florida State, Notre Dame, Georgia Tech, Miami.
Right, they're in this spot, yeah.
Yeah, so like there's a world where if Pitt's hot at the end of the year and Miami drops 2 games, and the deciding game, last game of the regular season in the ACC is going to be Miami at Pittsburgh, yeah, that's going to mean something. Then it gets really crazy. Now, is this a less than 1% chance of happening? Of course, but you still have to discuss it.
Now, before we move on to the next game, and since we've been talking about Miami, we'll talk about them in a second. Does this loss really hurt Florida, or win hurt Florida, I should say?
Does the loss hurt Florida, or you mean
does the win that Florida just got hurt them in the grand scheme of things?
Miami?
No. The Florida Gators against Texas.
I'm not sure if I follow. What do you mean here?
Because Billy Napier getting that win might have just kept him.
Oh, he's
around
gone.
For a little bit.
He's gone. No, he's gone.
I don't know about that. He's
gone.
If he keeps winning, he keeps winning. You can't say he is.
You know what? If Florida wins out, then sure, he'll be here. But Florida to win out, they got to be A&M, Mississippi State, Georgia, Tennessee, Ole Miss, Florida State. No, he's done.
It's probably impossible. But I'm just saying, this right here, if they rattle off a win at Kyle Field this upcoming week, Godspeed Florida, because you went from Boogeyman's finally gone to now I don't know now.
If he wins out, that means he's winning the next 7 games in a row against ranked SEC teams, multiple top 10 SEC teams right now, and he's gonna be hosting top ranked SEC teams too.
Yeah,
then he keeps his job. But in reality, even if he wins against A&M, say he wins A&M and Florida. I'm sorry, A&M, Mississippi State, Georgia. Sure. Then he goes to Kentucky. He wins Kentucky. Then he's going to lose Ole Miss, and he's going to lose. He's probably going to lose to Florida State too. He has to win out, and the likelihood of this happening is probably less than 1/100th% of him winning out. So
all I'm saying is
parlaying
Yes.
this into another 7 wins
Yeah.
saves his job. And if
All I'm
at
saying
that
is
point, if he wins 8 games in a row, then yeah, of course you're gonna want him.
the SEC isn't as dominant as we've seen in years past, so I think anything's realistically possible at this point.
It's not as dominant, but still, top to
There's
bottom,
good
the best conference
there's
in
still
football.
good teams, but
There's 10 ranked SEC teams in the top 15. Like
no, no, no.
let's not slow a roll here.
I'm not. That's not. But yeah, but that's not what I'm getting at. What I'm saying is the conference is still good, but we've seen this conference in years past. We're like, okay, we know this conference is guaranteed to give us the national champion this year. I'm not necessarily certain that's the case. I don't know realistically who's the dominant team in the SEC right now. I don't think there is. I don't know if there is one dominant team where I'm like, okay, they're probably win the SEC.
I think it's going to be one of Ole Miss, Texas A&M, or Alabama. It's going to be one of those three to kind of emerge, and it could be Oklahoma. I mean, especially if you get their quarterback healthy.
Yeah, if they get past Texas this week and then Mateer comes back, yeah, it could be them.
What you said for them, it's just managing. They beat Auburn, which was the big one. Now they got a week rest and they beat Kent State. So you beat them in the Red River Shootout, and you're playing Oklahoma, then Ole Miss. Like you got some time here,
Right.
and it's just Oklahoma's schedule is just so brutal down the stretch, which I don't think they're going to be able to keep up because they're playing number 4 Ole Miss, number 12 Tennessee, number 8 Alabama, number 14 Mizzou, number 11 LSU to end the season.
Yeah, so last 5 games.
That's a gauntlet. Their last 5 games, it's an absolute gauntlet. And before that, they were at South Carolina this week or next week.
Or next week,
it's crazy. For them to end the season right now, it's madness. So if Oklahoma ends up with 8 games, you should build a statue out of the coach outside of outside the arena.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll talk about that a little bit later too when we go to the AP poll reaction. We talked about Miami earlier. Nice win over Florida State this past Saturday too. Florida State, realistically, they got back towards the end. I know it was a 6-point game, but Miami pretty much dominated this game from start to finish. Carson Beck looked strong. Their defense was playing great as well, which has been a big thing for Miami because last year that was the reason why they couldn't win games like this. And now they're starting to get into a little bit of a rhythm. They're 5-0, as we talked about earlier. I don't really see a lot of big games left for them in terms of potential upsets for them. But like you said earlier, I think anything's on the table at this point after what we just saw this past week. I think the problem now is on the other side of things for Florida State. That's back-to-back conference losses. Yes, they're still ranked, barely though. But I just don't really see the path for you at this point. I think it would take a miracle, and even that might not be enough for them to get into the CFP for this team. But still,
Florida
they weren't
State's
expecting
done.
this to get in the year. Yeah, they weren't expecting it, so I guess that's fine.
And I guess the last game we have to talk about is Alabama getting their revenge on Vanderbilt. And Vanderbilt still looks like a good program. It's just that they're not quite there yet. The
problem for them is
rigorous academic standards. To have a football program this competitive is no less than a miracle. They have a 6% acceptance rate. They have less than 14,000 students. Their endowment isn't as big as these other SEC schools. At the end of the day, it's a very, very small private school that's in the SEC. It's like one of these only teams that really don't fit in from like a cultural standpoint, but for some reason it's in the SEC. And for them to go toe to toe with these football giants each week, it's hats off to the head coach at the end of the day.
Right. I think for Vanderbilt, the only thing I'm worried about is because Diego Pavia is a senior. So we know how much he brings to the table and why they're in this spot right now. I'm curious what they're bringing in next year in terms of quarterback play, but that's for future time talk, conversation. This team has definitely been more improved. On paper, it was a 16-point loss. It was closer than a lot of people thought. Vanderbilt was fighting with the Tide in this game from pretty much start to finish. And they're still technically alive if you think about it because they still have some big games upcoming against LSU and Missouri.
And compared to the rest of the SEC, we talk about Oklahoma's schedule, it's a lot more manageable. Now, don't be wrong. They're still playing LSU. They're playing Tennessee. And they're going to play Texas. However, Missouri, Auburn, Kentucky, winnable games on paper for Vanderbilt. Like they're not done yet.
Missouri is still weird. Like they're 14th in the country, but we haven't really
They
seen
don't
them.
really. Yeah, they don't feel like they're 14. They're
like
14 because they're
right.
undefeated and they play the games right. And obviously, you just play who's on your schedule, right? You make your schedule. Like their best win is against South Carolina right now, and that's a South Carolina team that's no longer that good. They played UMass. They beat them 42-6. That doesn't tell me anything.
This week is going to be a good This week is going to be a good eye test to see if they're actually for real. Because if they win, then you have
14 by default right now because there's so many top teams that are just falling out of a poll, like we have mentioned week after week. That like Notre Dame, Clemson, Texas, Penn State, and anyone.
Florida at the beginning of the year too.
Yeah, Florida. Like a lot of teams are just failing, and because they keep on winning, and it's the conference they play in. I guess the win over South Carolina might have given them a little bit more leeway, especially because it was almost a 10
South Carolina, remember, was the 11th ranked team in the country at one point.
Yeah, so like it's given them a lot of leeway here that win, and they really haven't just been able to like kind of prove it yet. Because now, like going into the week, if they beat number 8 Alabama, they're a bona fide top 10 team.
Oh yeah, no question.
So like this is gonna tell a lot. Do I think they're gonna win? I don't think so. Spoiler alert, but we'll see.
It's tough because Bama has played a lot better these last couple of weeks compared to what we saw in week 1 against Florida State. The big win at Georgia. And I think the biggest thing that's been consistent has been Ty Simpson, their starting quarterback. He's been looking really good.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. Ty Simpson has come alive these last couple weeks, especially in that Georgia game.
He might be the Heisman favorite, if I had to guess. I'm gonna look at
maybe. I mean, maybe he completed like 75% of his passes and almost 350 yards this week. Versus
if I had to guess,
against Wisconsin, he just completely obliterated them. It's like the secondary wasn't even out there.
He's right now third odds, according to Vegas Insider. It's Dante Moore from Oregon, then Carson Beck, and then Ty Simpson.
Yeah, Carson Beck, another guy. I would love to see Miami, Georgia. Listen, Miami, Georgia college football playoff second round. That would be great. That'd be something to see.
That would be very good. You know for a fact that when we get closer, and those two teams they're gonna try to book that at some point. 100%.
They always do, man. It's across every sport. Like last year was Pitino Calipari, even though Calipari had no business being that 11th seed. But
I think the ideal scenario would be if Miami they get that first round bye, right? Georgia has to play in the first round, being because they didn't win the SEC championship, and it's going to be in the same bracket as Miami. Like I guarantee that's what's going to happen. They're 100% going to do that, and they're going to hope that Georgia wins the game. They knowing them, if it were to work for the committee, they would love to have Miami as the number 4 seed, have Georgia be the 5 seed, and play the 12 seed, which is all for nothing. Probably going to be a guarantee win for that team, regardless. That's probably what's going to happen. So
in a perfect world, that's what you'd get.
Just giving you the spoiler now, but I could totally see that if it comes down to that at the end of the season. But yeah, go in for Bama. They're starting to get things going, and as we talked about, another big upcoming game for them this coming weekend. We'll break that down in just a few short moments. But Johnson, let's go into the AP poll reaction before we go into the mushing hour. And as we know, this one was a wild one because you had 2 top 10 teams falling out of the polls completely, being Penn State and Texas. So you have 2 new teams in the poll. We had a bunch of new teams going into the top 10, teams that were there at one point, new teams that also weren't there, including a team like Texas Tech, who looks like right now the team to beat in the Big 12. Miami's now the number 2 team in the country. A&M now jumping into the top 5. We saw Alabama now furthering their spot in the top 10 at number 8. Georgia's back into the top 10 at number 10. And then going after that, we have LSU, Tennessee, Georgia Tech. Missouri moves up 5 spots. Michigan moving up 5 spots. Look at all these teams, Johnson, that's moving up 5 spots. You had Missouri, Michigan, Notre Dame, Illinois, BYU, and Virginia all moving up 5 spots based on what happened this past week. Iowa State dropped down 8 spots after their loss in Cincinnati. And then 2 new teams in the top 25 polls, and both of them are from the American Conference in Memphis and in South Florida. So right now, those 2 teams looking good to make a CFP poll.
Again, the top 12 to 14 teams, let's say the top 15 teams, 100% correct, right?
Okay.
No beef with that. Team 16 for 25, I have a lot of beef with it. You're going to sit here and tell me that you seriously believe that in a neutral field that Florida State would beat Texas or Memphis would beat Texas. Even Penn State. I mean, I know Penn State is
Florida
Penn, they
State
have
could beat Florida State could beat Texas.
sure.
They could. The
Virginia,
other two,
Virginia,
Memphis,
Arizona State, Iowa State, Memphis,
right?
South Florida,
I'm with you.
Virginia, BYU, Illinois. Come on, Illinois losing by 30, 40 points against teams in the ACC or in the Big Ten. Like let's be real.
You had to know that Texas wasn't going to be ranked after losing at Florida.
I get it.
Florida's not a good. It's not a good loss. Florida's been bad this season.
I really do get it, but like I don't know. Like to me,
Florida lost to South Florida.
Florida, listen, Florida and South Florida's ranked 24, so I don't know what to say. Like, there's no logic with the AP poll.
There never is.
Just like with Arizona State being 21 and Mississippi State not being ranked. Mississippi State smoked Arizona State. You can tell me that, like, please, like, a lot of these teams, 16 to 25, aren't worth their weight in water. Like, they're just not. But for some of these teams, again,
that's why
we criticize them a lot.
Well, that's why at the end of the day,
it's called, okay, you haven't lost lately, and like you're playing a Charmin soft schedule. And I know this firsthand. I know college basketball and college football are two different sports, but when St. John's would beat, like in the Mike Anderson era, would beat up on the 11 teams. Oh yeah, we're 11-0. Why aren't we ranked? Like it's like, this is why, because you're beating up, the school for the deaf and the blind. Yeah, of course you're gonna beat them. Like it's just kind of ridiculous when you put it like that.
Trying to see what week it is when they announce the top 25 for the CFP. See if I can find that.
Yeah, so like I
have a lot of beef,
and especially Arizona State being directly ranked over a team which they got smoked by, and a team like Mississippi State, which again I know they've lost games. I'm not saying that, but for them to kind of be ranked over them is kind of asinine. When
I think if they weren't ranked, I think you would be okay with it. Right?
If Arizona State wasn't ranked, I mean, a lot of these teams I just don't believe should be in the top 25, because I think there's 3 or 4 teams that are better than the top the 21 through 25, like 21 through 25.
I think the problem also for Texas is that Texas doesn't have a redeeming win right now too, because they look at that.
Yeah, but none of these other schools have one. What's Memphis' best win?
I'm not saying probably Arkansas. I think, which is
wow, that's great. Arkansas, the Razorbacks, yeah, it's so good that they fired their head coach. They have to get Motorcycle Man to go coach him again.
No, but
let's be real.
No, but what I'm saying is that you can't. Texas is not going to stay in the top 25 after losing that game to Florida in the fashion that they did.
Yeah, I get it.
And I'm not saying Memphis and let's be real. Like I said, I think when the CFP gets announced, which is going to be, I think I just saw it, November 4th is the first date for it. Texas is going to probably be in there unless they have another bad loss along the way. They'll be in the poll. So I think it's too early to be like upset by it. I get the frustration with it. It's every year with the AP poll. It's the same thing with how it is with basketball. It's the same thing with football. It really there's no logic, because now at this point Notre Dame, who looked dead to water after the Texas A&M loss, now is right now back in the mix of things at 3-2.
Yeah, which is
that's what it is.
Beyond ridiculous, being ranked 0-2, and they're it's fine. Just please get over yourself. Like if Notre Dame didn't drop it, this is how you know the AP poll is a bunch of BS with anything below 15. It's just absolute nonsense, because they left the door open for Notre Dame right now. It should have been shut on them after they lost at A&M. It should have been starting 0-2 when not really playing anyone else the rest of the year. Like it's crazy to me. Like it's just it's ridiculous. You gotta sit here and tell me. I get the
frustration. I get it.
Yeah, Illinois should have dropped when they lost by 4 touchdowns the other week. Like it's crazy that they like to pick and choose and stuff like this. You have AP poll voters on Twitter saying, "Oh yeah, I really didn't catch all the games this week, but I moved them up anyway." People when Florida was still getting ranked, by the way, there were voters.
I know where you're going with it. Yeah.
That were, Florida, they're great, and they moved them up even though they lost that week. So you have absolute idiots picking the polls picking the teams at this week on a weekly basis. And I'm done. There's my rant's over. I can go talk about this for another 25 minutes. I'm done.
I know. It's gonna be okay, Johnson. Because now let's go into something that's been doing good for you all season long so far. It's been the Mushing Hour. You've had a very good year in the Mushing Hour. 26-15 now is your record on the season, and we're just not going to talk about my record. How about that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, let's just not talk about it.
We won't talk about it.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about it. This is the week where I get back. I might do a double in 2 games just to get my record of 500. It's not going to work. Don't worry. Let's go into the first game, though, regardless. Let's go into our first game of the week. And as we've already mentioned earlier on, this is a big game in the SEC, but in particular for one team, because we're still not certain if this team is for real or not. But number 8, Alabama, going on the road to take on number 14, Missouri. The Tide are a 2.5-point road favorite, over under 51.5 for this game.
I have Alabama minus 2.5 here. I don't believe in Missouri yet, but prove me wrong. I want to believe in Missouri. Give me a reason to believe in you, and by that reason, you're going to beat Alabama at home. You knock them off at home, really puts a sting in their CFP. Almost might be out. They have to win out to at least sniff the maybe 10 or 11 spot at the for the college football playoff. So give me Bama 2.5, but that's what you're playing for, Missouri. It's bulletin board material right now this weekend. So make it happen.
I would like to see it too, because remember, I remember the controversy with Missouri last year when they got Bo Pribiola, who was the Penn State backup quarterback, and he transferred during the CFP, and now he's the starting quarterback for this Missouri team. He's got them at 5-0. A lot of people at Penn State are probably wishing he was still at the university with the way the season has gone so far. But I'm with you. I need to see it to believe it. I think Bama is just red hot right now. I think everything is going right for them. Simpson's playing great. Their defense is finally starting to lock down at the perfect time of the season. And I think this is just a dangerous spot for a Missouri team that I think isn't there yet, but is playing some good football. I'm with you on the Bama minus 2.5. I think they get the job done in this game on the road.
Next game, we got number 1 Ohio State at number 17 Illinois. The team I have beef with, right?
I
You're losing the 50 points versus Indiana, and 50 points is I'm actually underselling it. You lost by more than 50 to Indiana, which we don't even know is good. You're hosting number 1 Ohio State. It's OSU minus 13.5. Over under is slated at 50.5. I'm taking Ohio State minus 13.5. They're going to blow the doors off this team. It's not even going to be close.
It was more than 50. I forgot it was a 53-point loss. Oh, boy. Yeah, for me, I just think this is just Ohio State. It's a rivalry game, believe it or not. These do play for a trophy. But Ohio State, to me, is right now the most complete team in the country. Their offense is playing great. Their defense has been even more, is somehow even better than the defense we saw last season, which is crazy to think.
Wow, you know what's kind of crazy, Nick?
Yeah.
Did you know that spread of minus 13.5? If you actually gave Illinois 11 more rushing yards in the game versus Indiana, they would still have less total rushing yards than points they're underdogs by this week.
God. Yeah. That game was and you know what? Maybe I'm to blame for it because I picked in Illinois to cover in that game. So I probably have learned my lesson since then. I'm going to go with Ohio State minus 13.5 in this one as well. I just think Ohio State just going to be too much. They're just firing on all cylinders right now. But I would like to just see a competitive game. If Illinois can make this competitive, that's sure. But yeah, ever since the Indiana game, I haven't really been too confident in them to try to do anything like that. So give me the Buckeyes in that game as well. Another big game in the Big Ten, another road matchup for a ranked team. Number 15, Michigan, going on the road to take on USC. USC is a home underdog in this game. Or excuse me, they are a home favorite. I'm sorry. I thought Michigan was the favorite. That's shocking to me. USC, a 2.5-point favorite. 57.5 is the over-under. So apologies for that. I thought Michigan was the favorite for this game.
Michigan is... Did I get it wrong? I'm pretty sure...
no, you're right. No, you're right.
Yeah, USC is the home favorite.
Yeah,
I'm taking Michigan plus 2.5 here. That's just the obvious.
Well, we just saw a big upset happen in California for a ranked team. We just saw that Penn State UCLA game. So I think USC, I know that they're bad. They're definitely not UCLA bad. Michigan did look a little bit struggling against Wisconsin, which is a bad sight. But I'm going to pick with you again. I hate to do it 3 times in a row, but I got Michigan 2.5 in this game too. They were a team that had going to the college football playoffs, so I got to keep riding with it at this point. So give me the Wolverines.
All right, and let's talk about our next game. We have South Carolina going into Death Valley, take on number 11 LSU. They are a 9.5-point favorite at home, and the over-under slate at 44.5. Give me South Carolina to cover here, plus 9.5.
You're gonna probably hate me. I'm gonna go with South Carolina 9.5 also.
Yeah, that's fine.
um,
We're a lot of mushes right now.
yeah, but remember, this game last year was in South Carolina, and South Carolina got robbed in that game against LSU. They should have won that game against the Tigers, and they were robbed at the end. I think they get some revenge. I don't think they win the game, but they definitely can cover the 9.5. LSU is not that dominant right now. They're not playing like that. They had a week off from the Ole Miss loss. They're not playing to a level where I'm 9.5 point, okay, being content with them being 9.5 point favorites. So I got the Gamecocks in that game covering the 9.5. Our next game, we go into the SEC. Florida coming off that big win over Texas. Can they make it two straight upsets against Texas schools as they go on the road to take on number 5 Texas A&M? Texas A&M is a 7.5 point favorite. 46.5 is the over under.
Yeah, the answer is no. Aggies by 7.5 here. Roll Aggies, gig 'em. I hope the Texas A&M State Police keeps the campus nice and safe and provides us with Twitter updates throughout the
Oh
game.
yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean that's gotta be, it's one of the best Twitter's going to date right now. Uh, but for me, I'm expecting a low scoring game. This is gonna be our first difference of this day. I'm not saying Florida's gonna win or cover. I'm just gonna go with the under in this game. I'm expecting a dog fight in this one, like kind of like a brawl fight and in a bar that you see. Just really, really sluggish offenses. They're not really, they've been having some up and downs at points in the season. So I'm expecting the two defenses in this game to really stand out. And I got the under. I just think it's going to be a low scoring game between the two. Now that I said it, it's probably going to score the over on the 46.5, but I'll just stick with the under and just hope maybe I can get a win at some point during this week because I don't know. Because after 4 straight mushes from us,
You've got it.
After 4 straight mushes, yeah. Let's hope. Let's hope. What's our next game?
Number 10, Georgia goes on the road to Auburn. Georgia's a 3.5 point favorite over under slate at 46.5. Give me Georgia with the points on the road. Minus 3.5. Sounds like a good time. Georgia's going to win this game, and they're going to win by at least by more than a field goal. So give me Georgia.
Yeah, I'm on Georgia 3.5 too. I just think this is such a disrespectful line of Georgia. I think that it should have been 5.5 in my opinion. Auburn is just not there right now. Their offensive line's been bad all season. Their offense is just playing really bad too. Their defense is going to be the only way they keep this game close, and I just think Georgia, ever since they lost to Bama, has been wanting to get something right, and they need a game like this to put them back into a right mind space. So I'm going to go with Georgia in the 3.5 cover as well on that matchup. Our next game, we go into the Big 12. Number 21, Arizona State going on the road to take on Utah. Utah, a 5.5 point favorite, 48.5 the over under.
Give me ASU plus 5.5 here. Only reason I want them to prove me wrong. So if you're number 21, you shouldn't be almost a touchdown underdog versus Utah. So give me ASU plus 5.5.
Well, if I'm going to have Utah on my CFP, they got to win this game. I'm going to take ASU to cover. I think Utah does win the game. I'm going to take the Sun Devils to cover the 5.5, and I will go with the over. I'm expecting a lot of points in this game between these two teams. These are two fun offenses. I think we do see a lot of points scored between these two. And yeah, please win Utah because because right now my CFP bracket looks really bad. I might have 3 teams correct, and that's it. So give me the Sun Devils to cover.
I got 5 right now. It's not looking too bad.
Yeah, I'm not sure what I was. I must have been drinking when we made those picks.
You were stone cold sober. I know that for a fact.
You might have been. I don't think I was when I was making mine. I didn't have Ohio State in my poll. I didn't realize until after we were done.
Oh, that's unfortunate, Nick.
I said, all right, the defending national champions not even in my poll, and I meant to put them in there. Oh well. What's our next game?
Our next game, and the one of the final games we have here, we got one more after this. We have the Red River Shootout. Number 6, Oklahoma goes into Texas to take on the Longhorns. Over under is 42.5, and Texas is a 3.5 point favorite. I'm going with the over here. They call it the Red River Shootout for a reason, so over 42.5 points for me.
See, I would have loved the over if not for Arch Manning playing terribly and Oklahoma not having the starting quarterback in this game. So, I'm gonna go with the under. So one of us is gonna be right at the end of the day for this game. Yeah, I'm not sold on Arch. This is an Oklahoma defense that's actually playing really good this season, so I'm expecting them to show out in this game. And I'm not Michael Hawkins. We've seen him play this game before, especially series. Also, I believe he went to Texas at one point too. But I'm just not sold on these two offenses scoring a lot of points in this game. So I got the under, but we're guaranteed at least one of us have a winner in that game. We're at least guaranteed it. So I guess that's the beauty of it at the end of the day. And then the final game of the week, and I think it's by far the best game of the week because you have two top 10 teams playing each other. Number 7 Indiana going on the road to Eugene to take on number 3 Oregon. Oregon an 8.5-point favorite, 55.5 the over under.
Give me Oregon minus 8.5. It shouldn't be close.
I want to believe in Indiana that they can maybe keep this close, but I'm with you. I think Oregon at home, they haven't played since the Penn State game. They had a week off too. I got the Ducks in the 8.5 as well. I just think they're just above this team right now. Like I said earlier, I think it's them, Miami, and Ohio State are the 3 locks in the CFP. Everyone else is fighting it out. Indiana could lose this game, and they'd still be fine. They just need to avoid bad losses along the way. So I've got the Ducks to cover the 8.5 as well. So a lot of similarities for our picks this week. Not a lot of differences on this one.
All right, so, Nick, if you have anything else, speak now, forever hold the peace. If not, take us home.
I miss Stephen Gelly Johnson.
I hear you. Maybe next year, pal.
I miss when Syracuse was 3-1.
Hey, you said you were satisfied with that. I have the FBI. I asked them to listen to that.
I did say on air, if we did not win another game the rest of the season, I'd be content with it. I'm starting to regret those words. We've looked bad against Duke and SMU the last 2 weeks. Oh, well. But have we gone over the card show on this episode on college football? I know we did it on the MLB and NFL.
Yeah, we have not talked about the card show, which is the 18th of October here in Staten Island. That's St. Joseph St. Thomas Church, 50 McGuire Avenue. It's in the gymnasium. So that's 10/18. It's a Saturday, 9 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. St. Joseph St. Thomas School here in Staten Island, New York, 50 McGuire Avenue.
All right, I can't say any better myself. Let's wrap this one up, Johnson. That is going to do it for this week's edition of the All Gas No Break Sports Show. A wild week we just had this past week of college football. Week 6 bringing 2 of the biggest upsets of the season. Penn State falling to UCLA, Texas falling to Florida. And now we go into week 7, a loaded slate. We have 9 games on our mushing hour docket. Go into the big games quickly. Texas in the Red River rivalry against Oklahoma, Indiana, and Oregon. You have Alabama, Missouri, Ohio State, Illinois. Just a round out of a couple games that are going to be happening this week in week number 7. For Nicholas Pavone, this has been the All Gas No Break Sports Show. I was co-hosted with my co-host Andrew Johnson for this week's edition of the All Gas No Break Sports Show. We'll see you next week when we recap week number 7.